everybody, this is Mary,
And this is Julie.
and you are listening to the High Priestess Hype Club. All right, so here's an example. So I pulled Michael Jackson's chart, right? And I put it, so the transits were for the day of his passing. Now,
Okay.
what's interesting, if you look at his natal chart, you can see, look at his sixth house.
Oh my gosh.
Right? So what I found
Mhm.
interesting in his chart was his rising sign is Pisces.
Okay.
Okay. His moon, if you look here, is also in Pisces. So natally, his moon is conjuncting his ascendant.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then the other thing that was going on was his Chiron was on his Chiron. Do you see that there? And right next to it is Neptune.
Ooh.
So on the day of his death, he
Mhm.
had his Chiron on top of his Chiron. He had his Neptune there. And so if you don't remember, Chiron is the wounded healer.
Yeah.
And if you don't heal that, that can put you at a detriment for the next
Yeah.
50 years. But since Neptune was right there, remember how he died? I mean, really, they overdosed him with too much of that,
Right.
happy gas. Well, he never healed his
That wound.
addiction.
Mhm.
So the day of his passing, Jupiter's there making it big, Neptune's
Wow.
there, and his Chiron, they're all together. Meaning if
Wow.
he healed that wound, he could have went on and done something different because he has all his music and everything he did. But because he didn't heal that wound, he went overboard in his
Wow.
escapism and he died. Yeah.
It's so interesting. I mean, it's
Right.
sad, and we're not doing this to be
No,
like
no.
rude or anything in any way,
No.
but it surprises me all the time how much astrology can be like, well, I mean, this is kind of what's going on with you,
Right.
right? I think my favorite part about it is like being able to use it to improve my self-work,
Mhm.
right? To like
Yeah.
kind of hone what's happening, like kind of understanding myself in a way that helps me like better myself,
Yeah.
right? And I think so I think it's interesting because I'm learning this too, like to see how transits can affect things. But I think it's also interesting to see in a chart like that,
Right.
that like this is how all of this comes together in this moment. It doesn't mean he was going to die on that day.
No.
But it shows that point shows that it could have gone multiple ways.
Right.
But it probably would have all been around that kind of that space in his life, like that issue in his life.
Yeah, because if you think about it, for him, it was in his 12th house, who was karma. I mean, his life was very much not his own from a young age. He was,
Right.
And I think so. The escapism for him could have been he released another album, he released another monster album. It was like all about healing, and it could have manifested in his art, which I think a lot of it did. But I think on that day, it manifested in the escapism, and that just happened. So, and I don't think he was a man that was, he healed any of his wounds. I don't think he healed any of his wounds. So, that's how it manifested. So yeah, I don't want anybody to look at that and be like, oh my God, that's coming up for me. And oh my God. No, I don't want you to do that, because it can manifest in all kinds of different ways. But when we look at his chart, it's like, well, that's the way it manifested tragically.
Right.
Because it just went too far. The escapism went too far. Jupiter was right there. Chiron was there. Bang. That was it. So,
right.
Yeah. So don't get freaked out again about if you notice a transit, but be aware that it may be like, hey, we got some, like you said, Jules, we got some work to do. We got some work to do. So.
Yeah. And when it comes to like how transits influence like day to day and everything, I think it's similar, right? Like, you know that kind of energy is present. And so you could see certain things happening in the world or in your life.
Right.
And just kind of like how we were talking about in the Venus retrograde episode, it's all about like what you do with that energy, like what you do with that. And it may just be like, I'm not going to talk to anybody because I know I'm really cranky today.
Right. Yeah.
Or it could be like, I can see that I'm going to be cranky that day. If I go to therapy, I could focus on an issue around that. Like if I already have, or I could journal about that kind of stuff, or focus in on like that energy to understand what's going on with me. You could also just be a bee. And if that's what your goal is for the day, I don't know why I centered myself on that for the first time ever.
Yeah, no, some days you're just like, I've had enough, like, and you get, and you're out in the world. So, but some days you're like, I am just gonna sit at home, put on some really bad TV, probably eat some really good but bad food, and I'm not gonna look at my phone. That's another way it can manifest, right?
Right. And I think that like it's very witchy of us and very woo of us to understand what energy is happening, what is going on around us, because it's
Right.
not, we are not just the main character in the universe.
No, though some
You
of us
know,
think we are.
true.
Yeah.
But technically, no.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
like,
No, I know what you're saying, but sometimes they're like, the world revolves around me. Your world
maybe you should
revolves
think-
around you.
Maybe you should think about that.
Right.
And we
Yeah.
all have different levels of world, right? Like we all
Mhm.
have different spheres of influence, and
Yes. Yeah.
I'm
So
glad we
that's,
talked about.
yeah. So you can pull if you, and the great thing is on the internet, you can usually Google birth times, birth dates of celebrities. Some of them are unknown. Like J-Lo is not really known what her
Sure.
birth date is. So they, people try to find it. They kind of back into it. So you'll see that. But Ben's information's online, so you can look at him. Another one I looked at just for folks if they want to have fun with it was Angelina Jolie, Brad Pitt. And Jennifer Aniston. Because you
Mhm.
can see the difference in the two of them, Jennifer versus Angelina. And then Brad in the middle of kind of what he was looking for, because who he was really looking for was Angelina. He wasn't looking for Jennifer. So,
Mhm.
but then he blew it with Angelina. So yeah, good luck to him. But if you believe what the rags say, who knows what really happened there. But yeah, it's a different, those two women are very different.
Right.
So
Yeah, didn't you say that like his Venus and his Juno are different, and they're
Yeah.
both like archetypally?
Jennifer was Venus and Angelina was the wife, was Juno. Because
Yeah,
Juno was
that's
in
interesting.
Scorpio, and she's very, if you look at her person, she's very sexy. I mean, she stands there. She's very sexy. Jennifer Aniston's more of a good girl.
Yeah.
She's beautiful, but you look at Angelina and she's smoking. It's
Right.
different. It's different. And the fact they fell in love on a movie set was very exciting for them. So that was a lot of,
Yeah.
but that's what I mean. So if you know some of the major stuff that happens in people's celebrities' lives, you can see like what the chart is showing at that point and maybe why they made
Yep.
some decisions that they did.
Yeah, because I think it's interesting too that like sometimes it's easier to see things in other people than ourselves.
It's self-awareness. It's a lot of self-awareness. And I think that's
Yeah.
really important.
Right.
We all
Right.
want to be better people. Well, self-awareness is a big way to do that.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
All right. Thanks, Jules.
Thank you.
Yay.
Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at High Priestess Hype Club, and subscribe to us on whatever platform you're currently listening to us on now, because we're back every Thursday to hype you up. Email us at highpriestesshypeclub@gmail.com and tell us what you think. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.